Welcome to Stitching Up Trouble, a podcast where a quilt retreat owner and a creative quilt designer cross paths and stitch up some trouble together. I am Mary, owner of Coosa Mountain Lodge.
And I'm Heidi Pridemore of the Whimsical Workshop. Hope you enjoy. Hey, Mary.
Hey,
Welcome
Heidi.
back.
Welcome back. How are you today?
Good. Tired. How are you?
Good. Tired. So you are home from your retreat?
Yeah. So
Made it home.
I had 3.5 days of full sewing.
Nice.
I got 3 tops done. So
good for you.
Yeah. How about your retreat?
I am in the middle of retreat number 2. First retreat was one hosted by the Common Thread, and the second one is one that's hosted by a friend of mine. So I've had almost a week now of retreating with both groups have really good friends of mine in them. So it's been really good. So, but I'm tired. I'm tired, but it's okay.
I'm sure. Mm-hmm. I was only there 3.5 days, and my ride asked if we could leave early today. I'm like, yes, please, because I was just like, I'm tired and want to sleep in my own bed. I mean, I love all the people I go see, but it's just sort of like, so a week straight. Oof. Adam's probably like, where are you?
Well, he's actually up here staying in his man cave.
Oh, okay.
And he comes up and joins us for dinner. And last night we had somebody from one of the local wineries come and do a wine tasting for us. So John, who works at the cottage in, I think they're in Cleveland, Georgia, he came and brought 5 wines and did a wine tasting for us out on our porch. So that was really nice. So I love that porch. Yeah. So Adam was going to leave us alone and not intrude. And all the ladies called and yelled at him and said, get your butt up here so you can drink with us. So
I know, really. If you're not sewing, he can come hang out. He wouldn't be bored.
Yeah.
So you like to do those events. So that's always nice. That's like a bonus when you do a retreat there.
Yeah. So I'm always looking for things to recommend for, just something to change it up a little bit. So we tried out the wine tasting with this group and it worked really well. So if there's any other groups that are coming and are looking for like an extra activity to do, that's one really good thing that I can recommend. Yeah. So that's really nice.
I know my friends are all like, when are we all going to Coosa Lodge to do a retreat? I'm like, I don't know. We got to figure that out. So, because you do book up fast. So I'm like, we have to plan ahead.
Yeah.
So, all right. So what are we talking about today?
So today we are talking about how to break out of a rut or how to get your mojo back for quilting. And talking with a lot of the people that have come through the retreats. Some of them have said, I haven't felt like sewing for months now, or I don't know what I want to work on. I need a new project. I'm, so kind of have lost their passion for it or their drive or their joy for it. And there's definitely different ways to break out of that rut. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Sounds good to me. I know I get myself in those ruts as well. And it's a creative rut. I mean, it's not even just necessarily quilting, but just the idea of creating. So, all right. So let's see here. We all go through the phases. I'm just reading your notes if people are wondering what I'm doing here. So what is your best way to break out of it? What is your favorite way? Because there's lots of ways to break out of creative ruts. There's definitely a lot.
So one of my favorite ways is to just kind of play with my fabric. I have a lot of scraps. I have some stash, and to just kind of reorganize it and see what I've got. Maybe take some of the scraps that have piled up and cut them down into usable pieces, get them nice and ironed and sorted. And sometimes it's really helpful to have, to just play with the fabric and get inspired by, I have an awful lot of this aqua blue. I think I'm going to make a wonky log cabin out of it. Or, it helps to just kind of go through
we always called that petting the fabric when I
Yeah.
worked at Quilter. It's like, just go
Yep.
pet your fabric, be nice to the
Absolutely.
fabric.
Absolutely.
So, um, for me, it is like quilting burnout,
Hmm.
like because I do it for business, because I
Right.
do it all the time. And then I hit a roadblock, and I'm just like, I don't even know where to go. So for me, what I've done the past few times is I use fabric in a different way. I repurpose the fabric. Like I did a book on
Hmm.
fabric jewelry. I'll go make a bag. I'll do something small and not
Hmm.
quilty.
Yeah.
And that usually will just get me at my sewing machine, get me kind of
Hmm.
moving. I mean, those are both like really good solutions for a small creative rut.
Yeah.
So what would be the next like, okay, you're in a bigger creative rut. What would you do at that point? Like if petting your fabric didn't work, then the next step would be
So the next step, I would maybe change the color palette that I have. So,
yeah, that's a good
if
one.
you've been working with a lot of maybe darker fall colors or, jewel
Mhm.
tones or whatever, go get some brights out or some bold florals or do something with some stripes, one of those zingers that Heidi was talking about last time. Just brighten up the color palette, change it, do just something different.
Right.
That's
Well,
also
and the
another.
same thing could go for technique. If you always do traditional piecing, maybe try paper piecing or English paper
Right.
piecing. Yes, they're different. And or
Hmm.
do one of these that, like, I know stack and whack is an old style, but like something like that where you're doing
Right.
something completely different. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good one. I had asked the ladies at my retreat that I was just at what would they do, because again, I come from a different perspective. I'm
Right.
coming from, I'm burnt out at work,
Right.
where burnt out at a hobby is a different thing. And
Mhm.
they went for the low hanging fruit. They're like, you come to a retreat and you get
That's
inspired by the
that's
people around
exactly
you. Yep. And I would looked at like what they were. So some of these women only sew, like their lives are so busy right now. They're only pulling their sewing machine out at the retreat
right. Yeah.
and having to kind of get back into it. And then we go through the retreat and you see them at the end going, I need to figure out how to sew at home. I need to pull this out
Yeah.
more often. So there's definitely
Hmm.
an
Yeah.
energy that you get by sitting with other
Absolutely.
people who are not
Absolutely. Yeah.
in it. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so that was one they
Yeah.
said. Another
That's
was
a
to
good
take
one.
a class.
That's a very good one as well. Um,
Yeah, you now know as a quilting teacher, you can inspire every one of those people in that
yeah.
room.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, welcome to the
And
ranks.
another one is teach a class. So you have to get some quilts done for class samples. That's been really
Yeah.
inspiring to get my sewing machine going. Having to get those samples done.
Oh,
So
nothing like a
that's
deadline to get
definitely.
you going.
Hmm. Hmm. But I
Yeah.
like what
So
you
you
said
can.
about the small projects.
Mhm,
Just even a placemat or something like that is good,
mhm.
and something that you don't have to think about very much. So um,
Right.
I listened to one quilter. Her name is Beth Ann Nemes. She's White Arbor Quilting. She does
Mhm.
amazing free motion quilting. And
Mm.
when she struggles with her motivation or whatever, she knows that she goes through these phases where sometimes she doesn't really feel like sewing or whatever. Um, when she has the energy for it, she preps a simple project. So,
Mhm.
get your 5-inch squares together and make half square triangles. So when you're not feeling quite up to it or you want to try to get back into it, if you already have one of these projects prepped ahead of time, that's easy and quick
Mhm.
and you don't have to think about it very much. You put on your, favorite movie and just sew for 15 minutes or whatever. That's a really good way to get back into it as
Right.
well.
Right. Or, just randomly sew your scraps. Not don't have a plan. Just
Hmm.
we are all project motivated. So to sit down and say, oh, I got this ruler 3 years ago. Maybe today what
Mhm.
I'll do is sit down and figure out the ruler. Instinctively we're like, oh, we got to do the project with the ruler. It's like, no, no, just grab a
Right.
couple fat quarters, because I'm pretty sure everybody's got some fat quarters kicking around,
Probably.
and play with the ruler and try to figure out a new technique that you might be able to use somewhere else. That's I guess I threw that one in at the end there. So
Yeah,
um
absolutely.
did you have a chance to ask anyone at the lodge if they had ideas of how to get
Um,
out of it?
I I didn't particularly ask anybody, but I've definitely heard things like it's too hot to quilt right now. I don't have time to quilt. And I think quilting can be a very seasonal hobby.
Hmm.
It's spring here. People are out planting their flowers and cleaning up their flower beds and starting the
Yeah.
gardens and things like that. So, a hobby where you make nice, warm, comfortable blankets is not as big of a priority right now as, the spring flowers and the
Oh,
vegetable gardens and stuff. So, um,
exactly. Because it's
just
planting
kind
season for a
of,
lot of people.
yeah, just kind of recognizing that sometimes your hobbies are seasonal and, you know, you're not planting flowers and growing vegetables in the winter. It's not that you don't like the hobby anymore. It's just that it's just not quite the right time for
Right.
it. So that's what I've heard
Right.
from some people. But I have noticed, like, as people walk around with and see what other quilters are doing, that's very inspiring for them. Even if they do get to quilt at home, I have one friend that's here right now. She's been quilting for a very long time, and she's using up some of her stash, and she's making um, charity quilts, but she's doing strip sets
Oh
of
yeah.
2.5 inch strips, and she's going to
Hmm.
kind of do a modified trip around the world with those.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, so then you hear somebody go, "Oh, what are you doing with those?" Well, I'm just, "Oh, I should do that." So just seeing other
Yeah.
people's projects and what they're doing is very, very helpful.
Right.
You
Well, and
know,
you hit on another one. If you are feeling burnt out, like I heard, the two ladies up there, they are prolific sewers, and everyone's like, "Oh, what are you going to do with that?" And she's like, "I make things to make." She's like, "I'm not
right?
worried about where it's going to go at the end." So then it is like, okay, if you are one of those people that has to have an destination, look at charities. There's always groups looking for, and it's not even just quilts and big things. I was just at a guild, oh, where was I? Avondale, and they make placemats for the senior center so that every time people come in to have their lunch, they get a placemat to take home.
Hmm.
So, I mean, sewing for
Yeah.
someone else or sewing for charity could also help you snap out of your mojo, and
Yeah.
trying something other than sewing for a little
Hmm.
bit.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I do that. I step out and go do something else, and then I'm like, oh wait, I haven't sewn in a
Hmm.
while. I need to get back to
Yeah.
it. So I don't know. I think
Yeah.
those are all some pretty good ideas. Did we miss any?
Well, another one is teach somebody else to sew. Um,
Oh yeah.
if you're showing your quilts off, your neighbor comes over and says, "Oh, I, love that. There's no way I could do that." Yes, you can. And if you
Hmm.
kind of go back to basics and teach somebody else, that's very helpful because again, you're reintroducing yourself to your stash again. You're petting your fabric. You're doing all of that, but with
Yeah.
a purpose.
And
So
inspiring somebody else.
yeah, yeah. So let's see, what else have I? Yeah, just playing with your fabric.
Mary is the outline lady for this. She creates our outlines so that, and
So I
I'm
gotta
following along.
look at my outline. But I think we've hit on most of them. The
Yeah.
smaller projects, diff, go buy some new fabric, go to a quilt shop. Um,
Yes. Go to a gosh, you want to be inspired. Go
yeah,
to a quilt shop. I bought
yeah.
fabric for a quilt this weekend. After you said last week, when was the last time you bought fabric? I'm like, never. And I bought fabric this weekend. I'm like, this is because Mary planted that in my head And
Absolutely.
I went to a quilt shop, and I bought that. I bought fabric for a quilt. Lori Holt had a panel that you can make all these zipper pouches out of. Sucker, because it had matching zippers. Heidi bought that
Yep.
one.
Yep. Very
Um,
good.
bought canvas for a tote bag. I'm like, what am I doing? I don't have enough time to do the paid jobs. And so
Nice.
yes, going to a quilt shop can be
Yeah.
very inspirational. Kind of
Yes.
expensive, but very
Could be
inspirational.
expensive. There's just so many different instructional videos,
Hmm.
idea videos,
Yeah.
YouTube, and I have not gone down the Pinterest rabbit hole because I know myself and I would spend more time looking at and picking out new projects than I would actually sewing or doing any of them. So
Well,
there's
there you
that.
hit on another one. Another one
Mhm.
would be to go and pull a project out that you haven't done in, like, you haven't touched it in so long you've forgotten about it. Go
Mhm.
back and revisit it and see what inspired you to start the project. Or I know we all have UFOs at different stages. You have one almost finished, then you don't have to have the intensity of starting it. Just finish something that's almost done. You needed to put a
Yep.
binding on it, or you needed to quilt it, or
Mhm.
whatever, to kind of get your mojo going again. So that's
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah.
So um, and that's just I'm because I'm going off on a tangent, but another tip, if you have a lot of UFOs, a lot of projects, and you're like, great advice, Heidi,
Quickly.
but I don't know what UFOs I have. Like, where are my UFOs? What are
Right.
they? Um, I always tell people at the first of the year or whatever is a good time for you, you go through and you list out all your UFOs. You write each one on a little scrap of paper, throw all those scraps into a pretty jar. And then when you need to pick something that you don't know what you want to do, you pull the
Mhm.
paper out, whatever's on the paper is what you work on.
Mhm.
So, just doing that. And if you're a starter, just be a starter. If you want to start a new project every
Yeah.
time you're in the dumps, start a project.
Mhm.
Somebody will finish them someday.
Absolutely.
I've been hired
Absolutely.
many a time to finish a project someone started.
Yes. 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 Yes.
So,
That's for sure.
but well, we want to hear from you guys too. Let us know. What do you do when you're getting into a rut? Maybe listening to a podcast. Y-
I know a great
I'm
one.
I do too. I don't. These two crazy ladies started it.
One more that can be helpful is sign up for a subscription box. Um,
Oh
there
yeah,
are
yeah.
there are a lot of different subscription boxes. I know the Common Thread has one that they send out. Right now, they're sending it out monthly, but I think that might change to quarterly. But it's just fun to
Mhm.
just kind of have somebody else pick out your next
Yeah.
project or it's always fun to get presents in the mail. So if you're doing a subscription box like that, um, you're kind of giving yourself presents. And if
Mhm.
they're like mystery boxes, like the Common Thread
Right.
does, it's a surprise that you bought
Yeah,
yourself.
it's a surprise. If you're
So
not sure about mystery boxes or you don't really know what's the gist with a mystery box, you can check out my YouTube channel. I've
mhm,
got at least 50 unboxing videos. For a while there, I was trying every subscription box on
mhm,
the market.
yep,
They're a couple of years old, but subscription boxes may have gotten a
mhm,
little more sophisticated. But if you're just not sure what we're talking about, that's a good
right,
source
right,
there. And so check that out. But I got the Common Threads mystery
mhm,
box for a while. They also have a cross stitch one I really love. I just do not cross
yes,
stitch that fast.
yeah, yeah,
It's like I'm such a, like, oh, maybe I'll cross stitch an hour to a month. So,
yeah, yeah, and then the
they were
projects,
adorable.
yeah, the projects pile up. But if you're not getting them, or you're not close to a quilt shop,
Yeah.
or you know
Well, the projects are usually fun or small, and they give you most
yeah,
of the stuff in the box.
yep,
And, they're not picking, I'm assuming there's some out there, but most of the subscription boxes, the projects were like something you could do very quickly or very
yeah,
easily. You didn't have to be like a master quilter to do them.
correct, yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so that's a good one. Don't get me started on those. I'll be addicted again. So, because it
That's
is fun just to get a gift in the mail.
yeah, I love it. I subscribed to quite a few there for a while, and I've pulled back, and I support the one at the local quilt shop. So at Common
Yeah,
Thread, I get
yeah,
theirs, and
yeah.
I
So, and
enjoy
I
it.
know
And
their website's thecommonthread.com, right? It's just their name. Yeah.
yes, yes,
But yeah, so you can look and see if that's another avenue. We could probably do a whole
yeah,
thing on like subscription boxes and what we
hmm
like to
yeah,
find in our boxes. So,
yeah,
but all right, well, that sounds like another good inspirational point. I'm trying to think if there's anything. I mean, when I'm doing it, I do different things. I sketch or I will watch
hmm
YouTube videos of other people making stuff, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be quilting, but just like,
right, yeah,
you know, just their creative mojo is flowing, and maybe some will come my way. Like you
right.
said, get together with friends. That's another
hmm
really good one. Um, what else? I don't know why I'm struggling to think of other ideas here.
Well, I think we've covered most of them, but if somebody
Yeah,
has some other suggestions, we would love to hear
yeah,
them. And any
yeah.
other questions, yeah, reach out, leave us a
Yes.
comment,
Yeah. As
ask us
we're
a
a
question.
fledgling podcast, make sure you leave us comments below. I'm understanding that will help us. If you're enjoying the show, please leave us a comment, even if you don't have answers to our very deep questions. Just say hello, and if
Yeah,
that's really nice.
we'd
We
appreciate
do
that.
finally we have it up on iTunes. We have it up on Spotify. These episodes are also being aired on my YouTube channel, The Whimsical Workshop, and Mary's YouTube channel, Coosa Mountain.
Lodge. Yep,
It is
Coosa
cute.
Mountain
Okay,
Lodge. Yep.
it is Coosa Mountain Lodge. I couldn't remember if we put that word on the end. I type it 100 times. You think I would know it, but I never can remember. But
Yeah.
yeah. So if you want to help support the podcast, definitely leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of it. So,
Yeah.
but
So, what are your three things that you're working on this week? Did you
I'm still
accomplish?
doing
You accomplished. You said three quilt
three
tops
quilts.
you got done, so that's
Yeah,
good.
that was a
What's
lot of sewing, boy. There were two for Liberty and one for Clothworks, and I managed to do the Clothworks one in one day, the Liberty one in one day, and then it took me 2 days to do the second one because there were so many pieces to it. But they're done. They're off to the quilters. This week I get to make a minky cat bed and a minky quillo, which is a blanket that you roll up into a pillow.
oh, yep,
Haven't
yep,
made one yet. Got to write the pattern. I have to do a strawberry pillow for an upcoming blog post, and I have to do
nice,
4th of July punch needle for an upcoming blog post. So there's four.
nice,
Yeah, it'll be a
nice.
busy week. How about you? What are you working on right now?
Still finishing up a couple of class samples. I have long arm clients that need their quilts back this week.
Mm,
So I'll be working on that. And I have a friend who wants memory pillows made of her grandmother's blouses for herself and her cousins. So I am going to do that. Um,
wow.
that's not something I normally do, but because it's a very good friend, that's
Yeah.
what I'm doing. But please don't
You're
call me and ask me to do it because
yeah.
that's not.
Yeah, I drew the line in the sand a long time ago. No t-shirt quilts for Heidi. No, 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 no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah,
I will not do those.
yeah.
So what this retreat wraps up. Obviously, Sunday is Easter.
Yep.
Do you get a break then, or do you have another group coming in next week?
I get a little bit of a break.
Okay.
So I can drive down to Florida and help a friend move. And
Oh,
then I
we
go
could
to
say
H&A.
you're helping my niece because you are so sweet, and my
I love your
sister.
niece. I love
Yeah,
your niece and your sister. So,
we're all
yep,
just one big adopted family.
absolutely.
So yeah, she's wrapping up
Absolutely.
her freshman year,
Yeah.
and you are being a saint to go get her and all her many things from the dorm room. I
Yeah.
cannot believe how much stuff people get in those dorm rooms. It's
I know.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's so funny the difference between like my daughter's dorm room and my son's, and each one, like,
I don't know. I think at this point, I might, after seeing her dorm room is adorable. It's absolutely,
mhm.
well, it won't be when you see it, but it was
Yeah.
absolutely adorable. But At that point, I'm like, oh, maybe I would have rather had a son. Maybe that would have been a lot easier at that point.
Well, so the first son's first dorm room, he was a little bit scattered, and we had to, thankfully, he was only going to school like 10 miles from home, so it wasn't a big
Oh,
deal
okay.
to make multiple trips or whatever. My daughter's dorm room, she got online, found the specs for the bathroom and how big the cabinets were, how big the space under the cabinets were, how tall it was, ordered a drawer, a drawer unit that would fit
Yeah.
exactly under there, was wide enough, figured out how high she was going to put her bed, how much she could fit on. Like she had everything
Hmm.
calculated to the inch and
Yeah.
was able to, you know, very
Yeah.
efficiently and effectively use all of her space. So we filled the van to bring it to her dorm. And then when kid number 3 moved, um, it was a suitcase, a beanbag chair, and a refrigerator, and that was it. So it's like, okay, so totally different
Oh,
experiences. So
I don't know. I think Violet falls in between one and two. Like but I don't know how much of that was Violet and how much of it was my sister because
yeah,
she has the drawer units and every square inch is used and yeah.
yeah,
So have fun with that.
yeah.
I'm safely over here in Arizona. Have a good time. So,
It'll be all
but
right.
we will still have some episodes. So
Mhm.
don't worry about
Yep,
Mary's absence. We're covering it. We're gonna record
yep.
earlier. So again, we hope you guys are enjoying this. I have gotten lots of positive feedback from the people around me that have seen it. I assume you
Mhm.
have as
I
well,
have
and
as
we
well.
appreciate
Yeah.
the support. We are working
Mhm.
towards being a little more organized. Mary's very good at that part. I just sort of let her in and say, "Hello, I'm here."
Well,
So,
you take care of all the technical stuff, so I'm not
yeah.
good at any of that. So
Yeah, we're a good
we
team.
make it.
We are a good
Yep, we
team.
make a good team.
So, all right, with all of
Mhm.
that, ready
Mhm.
to say goodbye and we'll see him next
All
week.
right, sounds good.
All
All right,
right.
take care, everybody. Bye, Heidi.
Have have a good day.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.